grasping the thin, almost translucent veil between that of fact and fiction, revealing mysteries of the past, folklore passed down from father to son, unsolved murders, and things that go bump in the night. You've entered Deceptive Reality.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Deceptive Reality. My name's Nick, and this, my friends, is the splendiferous Bert.
Splendiferous.
And I did look that up right before we got on here.
I don't even have a word to make that one into, which, by the way, for anyone that does not know, last week, which for you guys will actually be 2 weeks late, 2 weeks previous, Nick called me the intrepid Bert. And I said, I must be intrepidatious. And everybody, including my wife, said that's not a word. Guess what's a word?
It's a word.
You guessed
I stand
right.
corrected.
I'm intrepidatious, baby.
And splendiferous.
And splendiferous.
And adventurous.
Oh,
was your other one. And I forget what else. I think I've only done this 3 times now, so that must be it.
That sounds about right, Nick. Listen,
yeah,
I'm going to be something new every week. That's exciting.
That's right. I hope there's a lot of words. I suspect there is. So I'll use them all.
There's probably words for days. A couple of people probably out there has some words for me too, and we don't want to know about them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Me too. I'm sure I do have a few people out there who would like to give me some words, but we don't want you.
We don't want you. We don't need your words, people.
Yeah, that's right.
Need them words yourself.
Unless they're positive, we need that.
For sure. For sure. Let me tell you, I'm very happy. Everyone has done an amazing job of listening to our podcast. And on top of that, y'all have done exactly what we asked for, which was obviously liking it. Thank you so much for liking our podcast. Mm-hmm. We definitely appreciate that. The infield poltergeist has made a few of you mad because it was a 2-parter. We're sorry. This one is only going to be a 3-parter.
3-part introduction, 6-part series, and 2-part mini-series.
Exactly. But the biggest thing, again, in this one, make sure, I got a notepad also for everyone. Please be sure to like wherever you're listening. The reason for that is it obviously helps other people find our podcast. So you guys are amazing for that. Thank you so much for doing that. Today's topic is not mine. It is a Nick topic.
It is mine. Yes, it is a Nick topic.
So these are always exciting to me.
Yeah, so this is exciting to you. I want to preface by saying that while it is a Nick topic and he enjoys the subject, he finds it quite a pile of malarkey. I don't know if I should lead with that, but we are where we are.
I mean, we're here, Nick. Listen, everyone's probably going to say it anyway. I believe everything that I hear and see. So the odds are in your favor that I'll probably believe this one, Nick.
I start out not believing things, and then I'm like pretty quickly won over in some cases. Although I think a little test that you run says that I am skeptical.
You know, it's funny. We did a deep dive actually on our Facebook and on our Reddit subreddit.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And the deep dive was kind of cool because it kind of gives an indication of everything. Nick is considered the skeptic of the group. And I mean, mine said that I'm a believer in almost everything. So listen, it doesn't paint me in a great light for this.
Well, I don't know about that because everyone loves X-Files, and who do they love? They love Mulder.
I'm the
You're
Mulder.
the Mulder. I'm the Scully, I guess.
I believe. I need a poster now for my
you
window.
Want to believe
that says "I want to believe."
Right.
I need to get one of those. Well,
and it will take me 16 seasons to believe.
I mean, but listen, let's be honest. Stranger Things, we believe that season 1.
That's right.
It's legit. So what's your topic this week, Nick? Are you going to tell us what your topic is? Are you going to make us wait till the intro? What you going to do?
Well,
you said you don't believe it's a can of malarkey.
I do believe it's a bunch of malarkey, but there's some background to it that lends some credibility.
Okay.
Then there's evidence that people in the modern times claim to have that takes away credibility.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's witness accounts which lend credibility again. So without too much further ado, I'm going to say that our determination that the Enfield poltergeist was demonic inspired me to explore something like this. Roll the tape.
Gather around as I take you on a chilling journey into the heart of one of America's most enduring mysteries, the legend of the Jersey Devil. This tale has haunted the Pine Barrens of New Jersey for centuries, a story of monstrous origins, terrifying sightings, superstitions, and countless theories seeking to unravel the enigma of this elusive cryptid. Our story begins in the 18th century, in the midst of a colonial feud between the Leeds family and their nearest neighbors. Similar to the more famous Hatfield and McCoy feud, the Leeds feud with their neighbors stretched back decades in time and had been deadly on both sides. Mother Leeds was well known to have been a witch and had the power to curse her enemies with only her voice and the anger behind it. Mother Leeds, already a mother of 12 children, discovered herself pregnant once more. Frustrated and weary, she cried out in despair, proclaiming that if this child were to be born, it would be the devil's own. Some say with this proclamation she unknowingly cursed herself and her family forever. The night of the birth was stormy and ominous, and as the baby emerged, it underwent a horrifying transformation. It sprouted wings, horns, hooves, and a long tail, before taking flight through the chimney, leaving a trail of chaos and dread in its wake. Thus, the legend of the Jersey Devil was born.
God dang!
There's a lot in that little segment, right?
I could only write 2 things because I was just stunned. God dang!
I'm sure you've heard of the Jersey Devil before.
I have no clue what this is. I have never, unless it's called something else. I can tell you this intro, I have 0 clue what's going on. I'm going to need to, we got to rewind a little bit. That was a lot for me in a very, felt like that flew by way too fast.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm going to let you ask a bunch of questions, but let me ask you one first.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of a sports team called the New Jersey Devils?
Oh, for sure.
That's where they got their name.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that at all.
Yep. Well,
which obviously I knew the team existed.
Right.
So, wow, man, that was a lot of info.
It is.
So, wow.
I'm sorry I've done this to you. I think I've broke you, right?
I mean, that was just a lot in a very short time frame. So,
right.
There's a feud going on. I understood that.
Right.
Who was the feud with?
It was the Leeds family.
L-E...
And their nearest neighbor.
A-D-S? Leeds?
Nope. L-E-E-D-S.
Okay.
Now, I'll give a little more context on this.
Who were they fighting? Leeds versus who?
The other party wasn't specified, but it was their nearest neighbors.
Versus another party. Got it.
Yep.
Because I need to solve this, Nick. This is on me.
Yeah, that's right. So this could be a 12-parter if you don't solve this.
Good night. At this rate, it's gonna be. I guess I'm already lost.
Yeah. So Mother Leeds was producing her own army. So she's got 12 children already.
Okay, so she's sprouting out children, not because she enjoys the process, but because she needs fighters, warriors.
Well, it could also be irresponsible parenting, but that's lost to the sands of time.
And obviously this is happening in New Jersey.
That's
in
right.
Jersey.
In the Pine Barrens.
Okay.
So here's the other thing too. Mother Leeds was a well-known witch, or so people say. And it was known that she could curse people on the opposite side of the feud just by getting angry and giving them the evil eye and saying
And why
something.
she need kids?
I don't, when I think someone's got, and I'm sorry, anyone, if you've got 12 kids, when I think of people from olden times who have 12 kids, I think they don't have a lot of entertainment at night and there's long winters. That's what I think.
Makes sense.
But also during like war times and stuff, people had a lot of kids because they were going to lose workers around their farms, all that kind of stuff.
Makes sense.
But then she gets frustrated. So it doesn't seem like she entirely was along for this having a million kids thing.
Okay, so she got frustrated with the kids.
Well, when she found out she was pregnant for the 13th time.
13, Nick. 13.
That's right. It's up again.
Oh, case closed. I'm circling a 13,
There's a
boys
part
and girls.
yes. There's something later that you're going to lose your mind when you hear, and I wish we could just fast forward to it, but we're not going to do that. So she's frustrated. She's having like pains and stuff like that, and she just yells out, "If this kid's, I've got to have 13 kids, it's going to be the devil's own." And what does she do? People say she cursed herself. Right.
Cursed herself. Devil's own. Got it.
Right. So fast forward a little bit to the night of the birth.
Yep.
Thunder and lightning, perfect ghost story thing. Imagine flickering candles and lanterns. Maybe the cabin's not completely sealed off. She's in misery. She finally gives birth. Difficult birth.
Mm-hmm.
And she's got a 13th baby, which all of a sudden just like mutates
Instantly.
into this thing. Sounds like it.
Okay.
That's the impression I got. And took off out the chimney.
Whew. Okay.
So you can probably imagine, thinking in my point of view, the problems I have with this story already.
I believe it 100%, Nick. I don't know what you're talking about.
Do you? Okay.
Listen, the devil's real.
Oh,
we know it. The devil's real. We know it.
He's usually a little more subtle than this, though. This was like, bam, here's a baby devil.
So after the birth,
Right.
it grew hooves.
Hooves.
A donkey
a long
face.
Snout. Yeah, sort of like a donkey face or a horse-like face. Big leathery bat wings.
That is so weird. Wings. Now, before we go too deep into this story, Nick.
Right.
This is 18th century.
Yep.
I'm assuming this is more of it started as folklore. There's nothing ruled in facts so far. This is just the folklore part, right? This is the build up to the
some
story.
people would have you believe that this is the origin of it and it's fact. I can't accept that personally.
I was going to say, if this is what we're leaning on right off the get-go, even I, Bert the Believer, as our deep dives would typically say, I'm struggling with this story. Now, this sounds like a great Halloween story. We should have kept this for our Halloween episode, Nick.
Oh, I can get spookier than this and more believable. Actually, I think I know what I'd like to do for a Halloween story.
Oh, yeah.
I would like to tell a scary story that happened to myself.
Okay.
And like, I'm just bringing this up now, so I'm not saying this is going to happen. I don't want to jump this on you. But if we had other people's stories that we could read or
That would
Maybe
actually
have a
be pretty
little,
cool.
yeah, a little participation. Like Art Bell used to do the Ghost to Ghost he did on Halloween.
See,
I would
okay.
love that.
Moment of truth.
All right.
Apparently that's a big name. I don't know who that is. Also, I was running my podcast is coming out on Wednesday for Jess, and she said I sounded like some dude named Paul Harvey, which again I have no clue who that is.
Man, I'm afraid I'm going to be embarrassed because I don't know who that is either.
I had no clue. Apparently, because I'm still trying to find my groove on my podcast, what I'm comfortable with.
Right.
And I read this one from beginning to end and added my sound effects and all that stuff. So, yeah, apparently it's like a Paul Harvey. And then the guy you just said, again, no clue who that
Art
is.
Bell.
Art Bell, no clue who that is.
I like by the time I found out about him, or actually by the time I started listening, which wasn't that long ago, he'd already been gone.
Oh, okay.
But I used to work with a real conspiracy believer. That's how I'm going to put it, just in case he's listening. I don't want to say nut. Sorry if you're listening.
I don't want to say he's a nut,
but so I'm showing you the respect if you're listening. Of not calling you a nut, but you're a conspiracy nut. Anywho, he told me about him a lot back in the day, and the show's really good. But he's like, he comes to you from the hide. Nope, it's a radio show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, / podcast. But he comes to you from the high desert and tells you stories of the paranormal, and he interviews like an exorcist. He interviews people who have ghost stories. He interviews psychics, all that kind of stuff. And every year on Halloween, he does a call-in call, and he changed it from Coast to Coast AM to Ghost AM.
Oh, that's cool. That's a cool little play on words.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
There was really actually a subreddit that I was responding to. Someone asked me or they didn't ask me. They asked everyone in the subreddit. I think it was the paranormal subreddit, but they asked what the early pioneering shows on TV were that kind of brought like ghosts and stuff like that on. And of course I answered with TAPS, which is the Transatlantic Paranormal Society. I think there's what's called like Ghost Hunters, but there was a UK show that's similar. It's and what was it? Most Haunted? Is that what the UK one was? It was a show.
Yes.
In 2002.
That's going to be mentioned in this.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Because they used to talk to psychics. That's what made me think of what you were talking about. They used to talk to psychics and mediums and all that stuff also. That was the first show that I ever remember, TV show, that I ever remember them talking to psychics and stuff like that. Because they're based out of the UK, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Man, I've got stories of psychics too. Anyway, that's what I'd like to do on Halloween. That
would be really cool. So you guys got to get yourself prepared. Listen, you guys have all kinds of places that you can put your information for like the stories and stuff. So let's use, for example, we have a subreddit. Just look up our name, Deceptive Reality. I think it's in there as Deceptive Reality or Deceptive Reality Podcast. Choose one of the two. We also have a Facebook group, a Facebook page. There's a lot of different places. Just send us something there. If you got a cool story, what we'll do, it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to even write it like a Stephen King novel. Just put the basics, put what happened, your experience. We'll write it in the form of a story.
Right.
Maybe we'll have the narrator do it, and then Nick and I will talk about it.
Yeah, we'll splash some drama on it.
Yeah, we will.
Still, it'll be your story completely. We'll 100%. Just read it dramatically or something to that effect.
What if, Nick, people submit their story and like on my podcast, we add some sound effects and stuff to the narration to bring it to life.
I personally would love that.
That would be super cool.
Yeah. So send in your submissions. And if you're having trouble finding our social media, you can also find us at deceptivereality.com.
Deceptiverealitypodcast.com.
Oh my God. I've worked on it so much this weekend and I forgot the name.
Yep. We are www.deceptiverealitypodcast.com.
That's right.
And that you'll find us everywhere on there.
Yeah. All right. So
Outstanding.
do we want to get back to, we got a little off base there.
That happens with us, Nick. Listen, I'm not necessarily known to flow.
No,
Before we go, and again, I'm just trying to wrap that entire thing around in my head. That was a lot.
Right.
It hooves, long-faced donkey.
Mm-hmm. There is an image if you'd like to
Wings.
look at it.
Wings, and then it flew out the chimney.
Yep. So chimneys back then were quite a bit larger because they did everything at the hearth, like cooking and
For
everything.
sure. 18th century, they didn't have a whole lot. Am I looking at regal features? Am I looking at wood cutting? What am I looking at?
Look at wood cutting. That's a good one for it.
And this will be on our Instagram also and our Facebook page. Everyone was
That's
talking
right.
about, I don't have an Instagram. So I said, fine, we'll just put all that on the Facebook page also.
Yeah.
Wow, that thing. If that's a goat face, that's the ugliest ghost face I have done ever seen. That goat face.
Oh, it's quite a creature.
Looks like a fish. That's a fish face.
It's got a lot of things going on there.
It's got a, that doesn't even look like whoever drew this. That, listen, they need to go to school. That looks like a fish for a head, and it looks like its back, and then it looks like those are wooden wings. Is that supposed to be bat wings? What is that supposed to be?
Yeah, it's supposed to be bat wings. There's another one in there that you can look at all these pictures. It doesn't matter. So you can flip through them. But there's one that's like probably the more famous drawing of it.
That is this. So for anyone that's just listening, obviously, that looks like a seahorse. Kinda.
You know what? It kind of does have that kind of look like that. Like
First thing I thought of when I saw that, seahorse. But with a donkey.
Seahorse.
It's a presidential, Democratic seahorse. That's what I'm seeing. That is interesting. And it just flew right out the chimney.
Yep.
Wow.
Right out the chimney.
All right. Well, so far I can tell you, you don't have me yet, Nick. I'm not.
No.
That for me is not super believable.
No.
But anything could happen. Anything could happen.
So you mentioned this is part of the folklore. So this is just one story.
Yes.
But we're going to get into some other things that could be part of this.
Fair enough. And that always seems to happen with the cryptids.
Yeah, especially this. It follows a lot of patterns that the Mothman did.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm already sold then.
All right, here we are. We're solved.
All right. I want to hear the next segment. Can we go?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
While the legend of the Jersey Devil to the colonists was born that day, it's possible that the legend started much earlier. The Pine Barrens, since time immemorial, had been the land of the native Lenape people. The Lenape people said that the land was inhabited by a deer-like creature with large leathery wings like a bat called Msing. This description sounds almost identical to the descriptions of the Jersey Devil seen since. This creature was also often accompanied by a mysterious rider that would no doubt have been associated with the devil by the colonists. It seems an odd connection that the results of a devilish curse might give birth to another mysterious creature like Msing. There are many elements within indigenous folklore that resonate with the cryptid's characteristics and the eerie landscape of the Pine Barrens. Many Native American tribes believe in shape-shifting beings or spirits capable of taking on various forms. These shape-shifters are often associated with the natural world and may assume the appearance of animals, humans, or supernatural creatures. In this context, the Jersey Devil could be interpreted as a shape-shifting entity that terrorizes the Pine Barrens. Native American folklore also frequently includes trickster spirits, such as the coyote in some Western tribes or the raven in the Pacific Northwest. These tricksters are known for their mischievous and sometimes malevolent behavior. The Jersey Devil's penchant for causing chaos and fear aligns with the trickster archetype, Other indigenous beliefs view certain creatures as guardians or protectors of specific natural environments. The Pine Barrens, with its dense forests and remote swamps, might be seen as a place inhabited by guardian spirits or entities, potentially including a creature like the Jersey Devil that watches over the wilderness, a failed protector unfortunately as the Lenape were eventually driven to sell or abandon their lands.
Back on route, baby. Listen.
Right.
I'm back on. So the first story is Butkus. That does not listen. I throw that out. But listen, if that's a court case, throw it out. No good. It's no good. When they said Native American folklore, you know the first thing that popped into my head?
What's that?
Skinwalker Ranch.
Right.
First thing that popped into my head, because I've done a lot of research on this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny. Wait a second. Is that podcast out yet? No, I can't talk about it. Okay. Or wait, this is Friday. This is Friday's episode. Okay. We can totally talk about this.
Let's do it.
So my podcast this week is based out of, is it Louisiana? I think it's Louisiana. Anyway. But what's very interesting, and it goes back into this a little bit, is when we go and we talk about Native American curses on lands or rituals,
right?
It's not uncommon, because what would happen is a lot of times Native Americans will have these rituals and they would praise a specific whatever, right? It's kind of like if you look back at like pagans to a degree,
right? They
They would worship something, a god or whatever it may be, or even today's standards, witches and warlocks, they'll worship, a multitude of, typically it's elements.
Right.
There's something to the Native American folklore pool that I go, that's valid. So even though I don't believe that butt kiss beginning story, this has me back on board, baby.
Right. And this is where I sort of lean towards the other side, because picture this. I'm going to run through this for you. Ever since the beginning of time, the Lenape people, they have this creature called Msing. And I might be saying that wrong. I looked it up. I couldn't find out how to say that, but I'm going to say Msing. And the creature has large bat wings. It's got a deer face. That's what they say, a deer face, which is like a horse face or whatever. It's got hooves, a long body, all these kind of things. Now, Msing wasn't anything evil or devilish or anything like that. However, Msing was the steed of a dark figure that you could never quite see properly. And that's, if you think about that, that's kind of scary. Now, come along, the colonials, they hear this story. Who's the guy riding Msing? That's
Who's the
devil.
guy?
Yeah. To the colonials, that's the devil.
Makes sense.
So this thing is the devil's steed. Now, people from the other side, they want to smear Mother Leeds. They hate her. So they say, well, she's in league with the devil. And the devil rides the steed, and she gave birth to this thing that we're still seeing in the native scene. Forget their story. We're co-opting this, and we're blaming it on her. That's how I'm seeing this. Because, like you, a lot of these native legends, they seem believable.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, 100%. Because again, it goes back to Skinwalker Ranch, right? Like,
right.
The vast majority of that study or story is Native American.
Right.
That's where it all kind of stemmed from, right? And, like you look at, let's use, for example, like it brought up the coyote, right?
Right.
The coyote was a trickster.
Yep.
That's what it was known for, if you look back at the folklore. But the other thing that this is reminiscent for me, which I'm not sure which direction this would go, whether it be it's going from this folklore to this, or if this is going in for the folklore. Like when you think of the devil, typically the image for the devil is Baphomet,
Right, right.
Which what's Baphomet? It's got the face, or it's got a human body though,
Mm-hmm.
but then the face is that of a ram, which again kind of fits the same, right?
Yep, yep.
And he's got the bottom half of the Baphomet's body is that again with hooves, a tail.
Right.
It's very close, which is very interesting that
You see this stuff come up over and over all over
for
the
sure.
place.
The Mothman, think about it. We talked
Right.
about the Mothman was in West Virginia, but there was a case where it was 9/11. There was a case where it was at Chernobyl. There was a case where it was at that mine with those miners. And even though it was called something different,
Right.
it all had the same image. This is the same case.
Mm-hmm. And
We're on the same page on this one. I don't
Yeah.
believe the first story, but this, I believe.
right. So what I'm calling that first story is the colonist smear campaign of
I
someone
could
they
totally
didn't
see
like
that.
very much. And just like colonists are known to do, they take something, we take something from the natives, say, "Oh, that's mine. I made that up."
Right.
Like, we're co-opting that kind of thing. And just like Skinwalker Ranch, you said, we've got a shapeshifter, a protector of nature. It knew what was going to happen to the Lenape people. It tried to scare these people off, and I think it just didn't work out.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, and you got to think about it too. Like back in those days, Native Americans thought we were relatively stupid.
Mm. And
so-
weren't we, maybe? We didn't
Oh,
know how
for
to
sure.
feed ourselves. We didn't know how to hunt.
But think about it, right? Like
Yeah.
we ended up buying, what was it we bought for $32? We bought something for $32, like an entire lock of land. I forget which lock of land. Some historian somewhere is going to be like, this guy's an idiot. It's clearly fill in the blank, whatever. But it was funny. They sold that land. Do you know why they sold land for $32, Nick?
Why?
Because they didn't think that a man could own land.
Right.
Because Native Americans is like, this is everyone's land. But
Yeah.
now you got this dumb person who came in from a boat, colonialist, and he goes, how much for this land? And the Indians are going, you want to buy this? Like you want to give us money for this? They're like, yeah. How much? $32. You want to buy the sky too? We sell you
Yeah.
the sky. So there's probably some stuff added in there too.
Right.
But if the symbolism that they saw, because again, I think to a degree, they probably, it'd be like back in the old days, if you went to church, what was the first
Right.
thing to tell you? There's a devil, there's hell, you don't want to go there, right? Like they
That's
put the
right.
most opposing, horrible thing out there.
Yeah, but we got a solution.
Correct. Yeah, 100%.
Right.
That could have been a very similar case to this too. It's like,
Mhm.
hey, there's this thing. Pay us another $32. We'll keep it away.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. Why they would tell that folklore, unless they had
Right.
a fear and then we saw that fear. I say we as though I was there, but you know
Right.
what I'm saying.
We
I
were
don't know.
there.
It's
Bert and I
very
were there.
interesting.
We're
That's right. We're really old.
We're long-lived travelers who like to hear stories.
Correct. But not
Start
vampires.
a rumor. No.
No.
That's a good time to insert a cricket noise.
Exactly. Crickets for days.
Yeah.
So this, I think this is definitely a thing. This definitely would fit. It definitely fits Native American tales that I've heard before.
Right.
Yeah, there's something to that because they said that it happened significantly before the 1800s also.
Right. So this has been going on for ages.
Who knows?
And like I said before,
Long
Emsing
time.
wasn't a bad guy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there's a lot of necessarily evil spirits and good spirits so much as like, hey, these are things that were here as long as we can remember. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're nasty. They want to protect the land. Like anyone wants to protect their home.
Out of curiosity, did you look up in
Mhm.
Native American folklore the Imsing?
I did, but I could not find very much at all.
That would make
Just a
sense.
couple mentions of that.
That's very interesting. Because I wonder, because again, it goes back to we could have been told one thing and maybe we embellished or added to the story. I
Right.
always like to go back to the original and see if there's anything there that can solidify from one case, but that would be tough because we didn't really care what these probably in that time, what they viewed as,
Mhm.
you know, this unadvanced culture. They're not gonna put
Right.
that stuff out there, I don't think. Interesting.
No. But I mean, we as Europeans sort of have like a track record of going to different places, hearing a story, and then adapting it into our mythos. So, like in Ireland, um, the Green Man, like he gave a lot of look to the devils and demons as well, but he was never any kind of evil guy whatsoever. But because they were pagans and had some rituals with which were objectively bad, we adapt that. And then we get to the New World and we adapt Emsing into a devil creature.
When you said Green Man, I thought you was talking about the Frog Man.
No, not the Frogman, although he's probably evil too.
He is. He's actually just been spotted.
Oh, really? See, I
He
don't know
has.
anything about this.
The Frog Man?
Yeah.
Maybe that'll be a podcast. There's actually new sightings. That's a relatively new one. It's actually older folklore. But yeah, recently, like within the last 5 months. It's very interesting.
I'm going to have to look that up unless you're telling me I shouldn't look it up.
Well, if you don't know anything about it, it makes me want to look into this a little bit, Nick. I just know what I've read recently, and I didn't know anything about it. And there's a whole history there that I had no clue about. But because it just, like, it was gone for all these years, and then recently it hit. So I thought that's what you were talking about.
Nope.
Yeah, don't look that up.
Okay.
All the
I'm not
listeners
gonna
at
look
home,
that up.
don't look that up.
I am going to purposely remain ignorant, which is something I try not to do, but I'm going to do it.
Now, I might research and go this complete butt kits, and we'll never hear it, but I'll be sure to tell you guys, yeah, we're not doing that story if it's dumb. But I've heard stuff recently. It's interesting.
Well, I think we can see from at least the beginning of this episode that even if I think it's butt kiss, I'm going to bring it to you. I'm like the cat. I'm like a
Nick,
cat
bring
who
it.
gets a mouse and puts it on your doorstep.
Well, this one's valid. Listen, I can see why you went with this one a little bit.
Yeah, because when I got into this background stuff, this is the part where I'm leaning more towards something is going on here.
Well, yeah. I mean,
It's
I
not
can
Mother
definitely
Leeds'
understand.
baby.
Oh, yeah. No, for sure.
That-
100%.
That part's foolishness.
For sure.
But yeah, that's a colonist smear campaign.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
That's what that is.
Big time.
All right. Are you ready for a little bit more?
Of course I'm ready, Nick.
Okay.
Now listen, I'm back on board. Don't get me off board anymore, Nick. Let's go.
I think the next bit will bring you maybe even a little more on board because we're getting into eyewitness testimony. So let's roll that.
Yeah, but who's doing the eyewitness? Don't answer that. We're going to find out.
All right.
Let's go.
Over the centuries, reports of sightings began to circulate, weaving the fabric of the Jersey Devil's legend. Witnesses described a creature with the body of a kangaroo or deer, the head of a horse, bat-like wings, and the blood-curdling scream that sent shivers down the spine of anyone unlucky enough to hear it. The earliest reported sighting of the Jersey Devil is often associated with the legend's origin story. It is said to have occurred in 1735 when Mother Leeds, according to folklore, gave birth to the creature. While this is more a part of the legend's backstory than a traditional sighting, it's worth noting as the tale's origin that was supposedly witnessed by about 12 people. There are scattered references in historical documents from the 18th and 19th centuries to strange and unexplained occurrences in the Pine Barrens region of New Jersey. These accounts occasionally mentioned encounters with mysterious creatures or eerie phenomena, but they lacked the detailed descriptions and widespread publicity. The Jersey Devil was supposedly even witnessed by Joseph Bonaparte, Napoleon's older brother, and the crew of the famous pirate Captain Kidd. Before 1909, the Jersey Devil was already a part of local folklore and oral traditions in the Pine Barrens. Stories of a malevolent, supernatural creature were passed down through generations, contributing to the legend's mystique. At this point, however, the legend remained local.
All right. So, a couple famous mentions in there of people who saw it. So, Napoleon Bonaparte's brother was one.
We didn't like him though.
No, I don't think they were popular.
Yeah, he's not important to me.
No. But what about Captain Kidd?
If it was Captain Kangaroo, yes. Captain Kidd, man.
You know about Captain Kidd?
I don't know who Captain Kidd is. That's what I'm saying.
Have you heard of a very popular television series in the last few years called Oak Island Gold?
Yes.
So they believe that that's his treasure. That's one of the theories going on. That's right.
I thought it was
the Templars.
Yeah, the Templars is what I thought it was. Is that untrue?
Well, we don't know what's true because they haven't solved it yet. Although every episode they're on the very edge of it.
Season 96 of this freaking series. Gosh, dang.
And I've got theories about that too, but the two prevailing ones was its Templar treasure and Captain William Kidd. And he sort of alluded to it as he was being hanged, but they cut him off before he could finish.
Ooh. I will say, Nick, this is the first episode where I feel really dumb because we're putting all these names out here and I'm like, I don't know who that is. I don't know who that is. I don't know who that is. I don't know what this is.
Well, we're reaching into a lot of areas that aren't really traditional to these kind of stories. So don't feel dumb.
What's weird is, like, I feel like I know a lot of these stories, but this one's just slipped through the cracks on me. I don't know.
Well,
maybe
it's one of the top cryptids.
Which blows my mind. Right. It blows my mind because I'm even part of the cryptid subreddit.
And they've never brought up the Jersey Devil.
I mean, I might be kicked out of it now after they watch this episode, but
your letters in the mail, your walking papers.
Got it. Because they're really picky. Their rules over there are very good. God, man. Yeah, it's this one is new to me. I find it weird. My guess is it's either never been on a TV show that I've ever watched and like I used to watch, what's that guy's name? Josh Gates. He's had like 19 different television shows. But he's always looking for crazy stuff like this.
Oh, this is as crazy as it gets. Like I'm never going to tell a nuttier story than this, I don't think.
This one is definitely out there. And I'm just surprised Josh Gates did not do this. Like, this sounds like a perfect Josh Gates episode. Now I wonder if he did. We will be right back.
Yeah, let's find out
if he did this. Here's what's crazy, right? And welcome back. Okay, sorry. Josh Gates has done it when he was on Destination Truth, the Jersey Devil and the Chinese Bigfoot.
Okay, well, I don't know that one, but
it says Josh heads to New Jersey in search of a nocturnal winged creature that locals refer to as the Jersey Devil. Then it's off to the mountains of China in the hunt for Bigfoot-like monster called the Yeren?
So did this guy always run Destination Truth?
Yes. He was the main guy.
Right. So I have seen this guy before. I just didn't make the connection.
Yeah, he was super popular in that. That's why I was so shocked. But what's weird is I don't remember that episode. I'm going to be, okay, if we're being a buck, okay.
Right.
Old Bert has been known to, when he hears the beginning of a story, if I go, come on, man. I just missed that episode, okay? So it's very possible that they're like, we're going to go to this destination looking at this bat-winged, Baphomet-looking devil, horse, donkey, kangaroo bottom now is what I just got out of the last segment. And I was like, nope.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't bat the mic away and like walk off camera.
I think I did yell because I'm like, what? We're adding something else to this? Now it's a kangaroo dog. I can't keep up with all the animals that it is.
Yeah,
at
this
this
is
point.
like a chimera, I think they used to call them or whatever.
That's crazy.
But
yeah,
he's a very
he did that
indecisive shapeshifter. Yeah, he can't decide what he is.
Listen, we're what 4.5 minutes into this, and it's already changed like 19 animals. I feel like.
I know.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so that was the early sightings. And people just didn't really, it was the local folklore, but people didn't hear about it around the world other than from, Joseph Bonaparte, and people were like, whatever, Joe. Like, we don't really care what you have to say. Captain Kidd probably told a bunch of people, but he's a lying pirate. Who knows about that?
Man, I wish it was Captain Kangaroo. I would have been all in on this. I'd have been all in.
Well, who knows what he's seen.
But the crazy thing is
Right.
somebody said it was like, it had the face of like a collie dog too.
Yeah, I've heard that one as well.
Because I've got it wrote down here. So it was in the segment.
Yep, there's been a lot of different descriptions. They're all generally the same because, like, the face of a collie dog, a deer, a horse, we got kangaroo body, all this kind of stuff. If you're
There's
seeing
so
it from
many
a
different
distance,
animals.
it could be
This
either.
is someone who saw something far away, whatever it is, and they're just throwing some I mean, the Mothman was an owl, right? I feel
Right.
like they're just throwing some stuff against the wind to see what sticks.
They call everything an owl. I think this was one of our
They do.
discussions before.
They do. Everything's an owl. Doesn't matter what it is, it's an owl.
Yep. Or swamp gas. I think that was the other thing.
Or swamp gas. 100%.
Yep. So
That's crazy.
like I was saying, this sort of became local folklore and, people talked about it and stuff. But then just years and years later, it was kind of resurgence. And this is where it became well known.
Oh, it went like dormant for a long time. Like this isn't a
Yeah.
continuous thing. Okay.
Yeah. And then it went gangbusters. Then it went, everyone's seeing this mofo everywhere. Pardon my language.
That's I think the problem, well, I don't know, man, because some things just disappear. Like Bigfoot.
Yeah.
It was huge for a long time. Like remember in like the late 70s, early 80s,
Mhm.
everyone saw Bigfoot and it kind of died off until
Yeah.
10 years ago, 12 years ago. So I
Oh,
get
yeah.
it. I get it. But I find it really weird that these things just disappear for long periods of time. You know what I mean?
I do too, but the thing I find even more weird is when they come back sudden and widespread.
That's
like
true.
instantly. Like, isn't that weird too? Isn't that equally weird?
It is kind of weird. It's very weird. And I always feel like when they come back to like something major has always changed with them.
Right.
Like there's something added, like a new mystical, magical power, right? It's like Bigfoot. I just saw this the other day. Now the active hypothesis for Bigfoot is it's not really good at hiding, like hide and seek style. It can cloak
Right.
itself. Come on.
I've heard that before. And when I do hear that, my ears physically fold into themselves. It's like if you
So-
bite a lemon, you shrivel up your mouth. That's what
Oh,
my ears
yeah.
do when I hear that kind of nonsense.
So when the Jersey Devil comes back, in what I'm assuming that's what the next segment is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
When it comes back, does it have a new mystical power like that? Or is it still the same old Jersey Devil we all long and love for? Or
Same
should I
old
say love
Jersey
and long
Devil.
for?
30% more animals. No. I guess
Which, I mean,
we're just going to
at
have
this
to
point-
hear it.
At this point, are we ready to continue on? Are you
Yeah,
ready? Is
let's-
that what you're
let's-
telling me?
Yeah, let's see what brought about its resurgence and sort of took it nationwide.
The Jersey Devil burst into the nationwide imagination in an event called the 1909 Philadelphia and New Jersey Flap. During this period, there were numerous reports of Jersey Devil sightings involving multiple witnesses, which contributed to widespread panic. Schools were closed in some areas, and people across New Jersey and Philadelphia claimed to have seen the creature. These reports included encounters by police officers, firefighters, and everyday citizens. While some sightings were likely hoaxes or misidentifications, the sheer number of reports during this time is a key part of the Jersey Devil legend. Some notable accounts are as follows. In Woodbury, New Jersey, during the 1909 flap, a local resident named Nelson Evans claimed to have seen the Jersey Devil while he was walking near his home. He described it as having a head like a collie dog and a face like a horse, with bat-like wings and a long, forked tail. Another notable sighting during the 1909 flap was reported in Bridgeton, New Jersey. A man named Frank J. Smith claimed to have encountered the Jersey Devil while he was on his way to work. He described the creature as having a horse's head, large wings, and a long neck. A series of sightings were reported in Cape May, New Jersey. Witnesses described a creature resembling the Jersey Devil, often seen near the Delaware Bay. In a nearby town, a hooved creature with a long body and bat-like wings was witnessed by over 250 people at a sporting event.
So again, we're back to a collie dog, which also fits
Mhm.
with Josh Gates. So
Right.
clearly it's got to be more than just Destination Truth. So it's Destination Truth. And who was the other person that said collie dog? Was it just a group
It was
of
one of the
people, or-
witnesses, the guy who was walking home from work.
Okay.
He said that, but he said something interesting. He said it had the face of a collie dog, but the head of a horse. So I'm trying to imagine what that would even be. Bad Photoshop is what I'm picturing. So I don't know.
Soon as I heard head of a collie dog, I instantaneously went to what I wrote down, which was from that Destination Truths thing.
Right.
And I didn't even hear the fact that it said
Oh, okay.
the
Yeah, it
rest.
said a face of a collie dog and the head of a horse.
That is so weird. That makes
So
no sense.
I don't know how
That's a
that
drunk
works.
person. We can't include that in here.
Right. So, not included in the narration. In that little span of time, there were 679 separate recorded sightings. It was so widespread that officials were taking it seriously and schools were shutting down because there was, I guess, a kid that went missing that was attributed to the Jersey Devil. Probably not, but that's what they attributed it to. And the big one, I read more of this from another place and I couldn't find the source, but the sporting event, it leapt and flew across the field in front of like 250 people. Now that one gets a little harder to explain.
You would think, though, like if I saw, based on what they're describing, if I would have saw that, I would have described that as a gargoyle because they say it's got bat-like wings now, right?
Right.
But
You-
yet
you know, that
everyone's
makes-
sticking
I
to
hadn't
this
thought
other.
of that.
Yeah, that's the first thing I think of when I hear bat wings. I'm assuming its body structure is probably similar to a gargoyle,
Right.
and a gargoyle's face is kind of weird anyway.
Yeah, they have a lot of different faces, and there's some elongated ones that I've seen.
Correct.
Because they were like water spouts on churches a lot of the times too.
Gargoyle already solved it. Got it. Circling
Yeah, that's it. It's over.
it. Yeah,
So-
that's. I find it weird that they keep going to all these different animals though, because it's like
right.
I don't know, like that's just not what I would think of when I'm. I don't know.
You know what
It's
I
very odd.
imagine is all these people are seeing something. And they're
For
just
sure.
like, what the F am I seeing?
Oh, for sure.
Like it's
100%.
like beyond imagination, and they're just grasping at, well, it could be, it has a little bit of this, it has a little
Right.
bit of that, and they don't know what they're seeing.
Correct.
But that is
It,
a lot. So eyewitness testimony has some value as evidence.
oh,
It's a
for sure.
form of evidence, but it's typically not sufficient on its own.
It's like on the podcast I do, Nick, because I tell the
Right.
ghost stories and all the fun stuff.
Mhm.
I specifically add a section that talks about this is the proof that's there, because I don't
Right.
want people to just hear a story and go, okay, that's a cool story. It's just a story, right? And mine
Yeah.
always goes back to historical data, right?
Right.
We've
Which we've
got
got
that
some of
here.
that. Yep.
We got that here. The
Mhm.
second one is there something with the land? So when you're talking about paranormal, it's typically, is there crystal in the ground? Is there
Right.
active water underneath the ground? The other thing is there Native American folklore that occurs there?
Right.
Because that has
Checkbox
something
there.
to do with it. That's another checkbox, right? The other thing that we typically look at on what I do is we also look at, is there any kind of what do they call that? Residual style. Of course, we're dealing haunting stuff, but residual. So by that, is it doing the same thing over and over again? In this case, I don't see that. That's what makes this one interesting, because it's doing a plethora of different things, and it's being seen at a bunch of different places.
Yeah. It's never
But it's
seen
checked too.
doing anything.
Oh,
It's
for
always
sure.
seen going
It's just there.
someplace or doing its own thing. Like, it's not attacked anyone that I've come across.
Is there any stories of things happening before or after? Like, is it a harbinger, much like kind of like what we talked about with the Mothman?
There was some scattered stories about that, but out of like so many eyewitness accounts, there's not enough, and no big events. So I sort of discount that. Like anything that would have happened in that time frame, I think would be sort of like a coincidence that it just happened while this
That
was
makes
going
sense.
on. So we don't really have that. But interestingly enough, one of the things that you look for as part of your evidence that you mentioned, and I'm not going to tell you what one you said, we're going to come to that a little later because it also checks that box.
Interesting. And that's the thing.
Yeah.
When I go looking at these other, and of course mine's more around ghosts, it's not around all this
Right.
stuff, but they almost always check multiple check boxes. And it
Right.
makes me go back and point and go, there's something there. And it's interesting because it's like in the ghost realm, right? Like we use equipment like an EMF detector, or
Right.
you know, we use things where we go, we can prove that this is different, it's off, it's
Right.
weird. When you deal with this kind of paranormal, the part that you lose is most of it has to be eyewitness accounts,
Right.
or like photos or video. Like you can't utilize a lot of those tools that you can when it comes to spirits or ghosts and stuff like that. So to a degree, you got to kind of lean on this kind of information more so.
Right. And the volume of it makes me think, again, something's going on there. But I want to propose this to you. If I had presented this whole story exactly as we presented it, but I left out the mother leads part and the transforming baby,
I'd have been on
would
100%.
we be having, like what kind of conversation would we be having? I don't think we'd be doubting it hardly at all.
No,
It's that
first
added
story.
supernatural nonsense. Like, don't get me wrong, I love me some supernatural stuff, but that sort of discredits the whole thing. But the sad part is that's the most famous, accepted origin of this story, even though we have all this data before this.
That's true. You know, and
That
the hard part
ruins
is,
it for me.
the hard part for me is whenever we talk about this kind of story, right?
Right.
The first part of the story is just great storytelling. It's great folklore. Right?
Yeah. And folklore's got value.
It's got value. Listen, if anything, it's a fun story. right?
Right.
But the problem is, and it's no differently than like the Skinwalker Ranch. When I first heard that story, didn't watch it. I'm like, that's stupid. Don't tell
Yeah.
me about these shapeshifters, blah, 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 blah. It wasn't until, because the folklore, I'm
Mhm.
like, that's stupid. Throw it out. I'm not wasting my time watching that. It wasn't
Right.
until years later, and I forget where I watched it was on YouTube, I think. It talked about the demons of Skinwalker Ranch.
Mm.
And I said, demons of Skinwalker Ranch? Like, what's that? And I watched it and come to find out their hypothesis went back to that Native American, the equivalent of like a demon for us. And I'm like, oh,
Right.
well, yeah, no, I believe that. Had I not heard the beginning folklore stories that they told on that too, I would have
Right.
been fully invested then. So I think this is probably a very similar case as what Skinwalker was to me too.
Right. Right. I think if we just took out that little part of the folklore,
Mhm.
I think we'd have a whole different thing, because you taking out that part, it becomes a lot more like Mothman, which
Correct.
is
Yeah,
like
100%.
a more believable story, because there wasn't some made up origin. Like, we don't know the origin to these things, and sometimes as humans we have a real hard time accepting that.
Oh,
So we
yeah.
make up stuff. And that's where I think we
100%.
went wrong here.
Oh, yeah. If that folklore part wasn't in there, you would have had me 100%. Because it takes me, like you said, right back to, the harbinger spirit of the Mothman for me.
Right.
Now, obviously this one's not a harbinger, but what I mean is they kept seeing it in certain places. This
Mhm.
fits very much in line with that.
Yeah. And like, I would have had myself. If it wasn't for that first part, I would have been totally on board for this.
Correct.
So it's sad that that's what people know. But that's how we're knowing about it now. If we weren't living in the Pine Barrens or around there, we might not have heard about it.
Very true. Very true.
Sorry, moving on. There
Mhm.
has been some modern sightings of it as well.
More recent. It's like the Frogman, Nick. They're
Right,
coming
more
back.
recent.
All the animals, man.
That's right. That's right. So we've got some modern stories, and I think there's more out there, but I didn't focus too much on these.
Okay.
But let's listen to those and see what you think.
In the modern day, the Jersey Devil still makes its presence known in the area. The PT Cruiser sighting in 2007, a New Jersey resident claimed to have captured a photograph of the Jersey Devil while driving near the Pine Barrens. The photograph shows a dark, winged figure in the distance, reigniting public interest in the legend. The Allentown sighting in 2015, a resident of Allentown, New Jersey, reported seeing a strange, creature-like figure with wings and hooves in her backyard. She managed to capture a brief video of the sighting before the creature disappeared into the woods. The Burlington County sighting in 2020, a woman in Burlington County, New Jersey, claimed to have witnessed a creature she believed to be the Jersey Devil while driving on the Pine Barrens. She described it as having a long neck, horns, and wings. The ATV riders encounter in early 2021, a group of ATV riders in the Pine Barrens reported an encounter with a bizarre creature they believed to be the Jersey Devil. They described a creature with a horse-like head and wings. The Jersey Devil enjoyed a modern media revival in the early 2000s as well on such popular paranormal shows as Mystery Hunters, Destination Truth, and Ghost Hunters.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Those are all my favorite shows, Nick.
That's right. He's
It was on
been on the
Ghost
tour.
Hunters.
Yep.
Man, Nick, I'm looking that up. I don't ever remember. How do I not know this then? Because I don't ever remember it being on Ghost Hunters.
Yeah, there was even like some shows that featured the New Jersey Devil Hunters, which was like a group of younger adults who would go out into the Pine Barrens and look for the creature. And on one occasion I got to speak to one of them briefly, and they were completely in belief.
Look at this. When Monsters
Mhm.
Attack Travel Channel. Season 1, Episode 4. Paranormal investigators reveal stunning new evidence about the Jersey Devil, a monster that prowls the Pine Barrens of New Jersey. But here's what I don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
Why would they look for ghosts? That doesn't make sense.
I guess whatever's nearby, they'll check it out.
They don't, though. That's what's weird. Are we talking about the same show? Jason Hawes, and he was in the show Transatlantic Paranormal Society.
Yeah.
But the show was called Ghost Hunters.
Yeah. So I saw that one, and they proposed a theory that I'd seen nowhere else, and that it was like a ghost or spirit entity.
Oh, okay.
But they made that up on their own. I don't think they had compelling evidence for that. Their main
let's
evidence
be honest.
Was they couldn't capture it.
Well, let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Again, if an episode of one of my favorite shows came on and they're going, tonight on Ghost Hunters, we go for a look for the Jersey Devil, I'd have been like, nope, watch this something else. This a dumb show. Ain't no Jersey Devil. They got a great sports team. I ain't watching
Right.
it. So again, it could have been on there. I was like, this is stupid. And I probably didn't watch it.
When I was younger, I ate that stuff up on TV.
Oh, but think about it. When you and I was kids and we had shows like Unsolved Mysteries, it was tangible things.
Right.
They didn't do a lot of this cryptid. The most cryptid thing that I think I've ever seen on Unsolved Mysteries, which they have proven, in my opinion, the chupacabra.
Right. I'm looking up something. I'm not going to stop right now, but I want to know if Unsolved Mysteries ever did the Jersey Devil.
There ain't no way. That was never on the Robert Stack, and if it was on there, it wasn't with Robert Stack. Robert Stack wouldn't allow that kind of thing on his television show. That's my theory.
I
know they had one on the chupacabra.
Oh yeah, and they must have did like Bigfoot and probably Mothman.
They did.
No,
they did.
They didn't. They didn't. But
See,
there was an X-Files episode.
Yeah, I'm sure it probably was. That would definitely fit in line with our other favorite show, The X-Files.
Right.
Mulder and Scully. Gosh dang it.
Yeah. But let's leave out the leads thing. That could have been on Unsolved Mysteries. Without that part, I feel this would be a more credible story.
I feel like Unsolved Mysteries still did folklore stories like that, though.
Yeah.
But like right off the get-go, Robert Stack be like, this is untangible.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, because they've done that with a lot of episodes. If there's something that just seems like it's too far left of center, even though they would still cover it, he'd be like, yeah, I don't think that happened, basically.
Yeah. And that leads me to the first thing I said in this episode. I think it's a bunch of malarkey. However, there's parts I've sort of changed my mind on, but now we're at the part of our show where I tell you what leans me back into skeptic again.
So we're going back to the skeptic land. Is that what we're saying?
I am. Yeah.
Okay.
Because the modern sightings, you'll notice a lot of them mention photos and video.
Yeah, because I saw there's the PT crew. Do we have photos of this thing? Because what you sent me, I didn't see photos.
Right. There's one that's a still from the video or one of the videos.
Yeah.
But a lot of these claim they have photos and you'd think they'd be all over the internet. And I have no problem finding them. Well, guess what? There's a lot of claims, but not a lot of photos being put up. So that makes me skeptical. The other thing is I watched the video that I've got you a clip from, and that looks fake as all get out. Yeah, I believe it's in there.
I might have missed it somewhere, Nick. Let me look.
It looks to me like the silhouette of a My Little Pony.
My Little Pony. Oh, maybe this is it. Yeah. No?
It's something in the air.
That's a photo. Or did you send me the photo? Oh man.
You're looking at it now. I can tell by your face.
That looks like someone threw a stuffed animal up in the air.
Doesn't it?
Like the
And I
wings
watched the
would
video
not.
for that.
What's odd is like their wings wouldn't even do that.
Yeah, it looks totally faked.
That's fake.
Yeah. So a lot of this photographic and video evidence that I saw looked totally fake. And I think there's a lot of
who
people
got that
hoaxing it.
footage? Who got that footage? Jim Henson? Who created that footage?
If you saw it in motion, and you'll have to check that out afterwards, it looks foolish. But it was on
Man, there's no way that's real.
it was on like CBC News, and it was on CNN and all this kind of stuff. And they don't mention that it looks like rubbish. Like I'm watching it and I'm like, this is rubbish. And they play it straight. They're like, this fellow captured footage of what he claims to be the Jersey Devil. Check out this footage.
Let's put it this way. When there's a still photo from the video and I go, that looks fake.
Yeah.
I can already tell you the video is going to look worse than the still footage.
It sure does.
Because that's god awful.
Yeah. So this is where I lean back into skepticism. The originating legends, I believe there's truth in that somewhere. And a lot of the sightings, I think, could potentially be this thing from the legends. But all the modern sightings that I saw proof of looked like trash. But there were a couple videos, and this is where I'll put this towards the more believable side. There were a couple couple pictures where I'm looking at it and I'm like, there's something there, but I can't describe what I'm looking at. And that makes me think of what we talked about earlier. People are seeing something, but they're struggling to describe it.
I feel like sometimes though, and this, I can't remember it could have been our last podcast. I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like from time to time, there's such pressure for our side, the believer side, to present something tangible and a fact that people will put out things that are fake to try to help the cause. But it ends up throwing us 20 years in reverse.
Right.
Because we lied to come up with whatever it is.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of that going on. I think there's a lot of that. I can't explain it all away like that. But if you say you've got a picture and then you show me something like that, I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to do any business deals with you.
That would definitely be tough to do from a standpoint of for us to look at something and go, there's something to that.
Right.
Again, it goes back to the proof. But that photo, you told me the first story and then you add that photo, I go.
Right.
Mm-mm.
That's some guy who runs a Jersey Devil vacation destination cafe.
Jim Henson. Henson opened another Kermit the Frog. Kermit the Frog and look, Miss Piggy, Kermit the Frog, and the doggone Jersey
the child of Miss Piggy and Kermit the Frog and a horse.
They got all the farm animals now.
Yeah.
And a kangaroo.
Like, if they gave it to us straight saying, hey, these are the Native American legends. This has persisted for hundreds of years. People keep seeing this thing. We don't know what it is. We've got no magical background story, but people keep seeing it. Hundreds of people seen it. They closed schools. The police were concerned. Firefighters saw it. 250 people saw it at a sporting event at one time. We've got recorded legends. Famous people saw it and spread it around the world. That's all I need. You gave me that, which was all there, but you stopped trying to bull poop me and pull my leg.
Correct.
So
again,
where do we land on that?
There's something there. Mm-hmm. I believe there's something there. I think what hurts it is obviously that first story, all the animals that's getting mixed into this
Right.
thing. Listen, like the Mothman, right?
Yeah.
We decided to call it the Mothman based on the fact of comic book things. That hurts the
Right.
story.
Yeah.
If you kept it as a cryptid, or, even if you said something along the lines of like Frogman, it's one thing.
Right.
It's one thing. It's not, we got this New Jersey Devil and it's got this animal and 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 this
Right.
animal and this animal. You start losing people. But then,
you know
and
what it
then-
reminds me of, and I don't mean to cut you off. Man
What?
Bear Pig from South Park.
it does.
Right?
It literally does.
I'm so sorry. I don't like to cut you off, but I had to say that.
Listen, you're not wrong. I wonder if that's where that kind of was inspired from.
Man, I don't know. Too close to
Man,
tell.
Bear Pig. That is so true. But then you go and you present this photo. If you
Mhm.
brought me all of this and said, look at, and you just gave me those three things, I'd go, nah,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, of course not. Because people are too desperate to be a part of the legend.
Oh, for sure.
And that is what it takes me out of it. I'm sorry for you true believers out there, but I think something's there, but it isn't all this extra stuff.
So we talked about the skepticism part. Is there an actual narration for that, or did we just cover that?
We're gonna get into that.
Does it
let's
cite
go.
specific people, or does it just go in general terms?
Just in general terms.
Okay.
Yeah.
So all the things we're talking about, it's also going to refer to in some degree.
Nah, the skeptic parts, I mean, I think in this case, a lot of the skeptical parts go without saying.
Okay.
I think a
got
lot
you.
of the skeptic things we're going to see are going under the assumption that people are seeing something and what it could
Gotcha.
be. But
Makes sense.
let's play the next segment.
The Jersey Devil's reign of terror extended beyond its physical manifestations. Superstitions surrounding the cryptid permeated local culture. Residents of the Pine Barrens believed that hanging a lantern outside their homes would ward off the creature. Others refused to travel through the Barrens at night, convinced that the devil roamed the woods after sundown. These superstitions, born of fear, only served to strengthen the Jersey Devil's grip on the region's psyche. The Pine Barrens seem to have an abnormal amount of superstition and strange events associated with them. Is the land itself also cursed? There are a disproportionate amount of abandoned buildings and ghost towns in the Pine Barrens have given rise to stories of hauntings and paranormal activity. Local superstitions caution against exploring these places, as it's believed that disturbing spirits can lead to negative consequences. The Pineys, or Pine Barrens residents, have their own superstitions and stories. They sometimes speak of mysterious lights or ghostly apparitions seen in the woods, attributing them to supernatural phenomena or unexplained occurrences. Hearing a whippoorwill's call at night can also signify disaster or death. The Blue Hole, a natural spring in the Pine Barrens known for its deep blue color and cold water, has inspired various superstitions. Some locals believe that the Blue Hole is bottomless and haunted, leading to stories of drownings and disappearances. Swimming in the Blue Hole is sometimes considered taboo due to these beliefs.
So for the record, as soon as he said whippoorwill, I zoned out for part of that because I had to sing in my head the Randy Travis song. From the back rows to the Broadway shows, million miles between. So I missed part of that. I wish it wouldn't have been
Okay.
whippoorwill because it got stuck right in my head. But I caught back up where it started talking about the Blue Hole. Now, there's a world famous Blue Hole,
Right.
but I thought that was in another country.
I think that's different than this one.
Okay. I just want to make sure that's not the same thing.
Yeah, so the what I want to bring to your attention from this is because one of the points that you use as a check mark is if there's something with the land, is
Yeah.
there other things that go on with this? And
Yeah.
there's a whole series of it. Settlements just fail in there. There's abandoned places. There's spirits, ghost lights. This bottomless pool that people get dragged under in, all this kind of stuff. So it sort of hit another one of your benchmarks.
For me though, like this didn't build more skepticism. It pulled me back in the other direction.
Right. And me too. Right.
Because the biggest thing, whenever typically we hear these stories, right? This went back to, and I can't remember what episode it was that you and I did, where we talked about the movie, The Village, right?
Right. Yeah.
They had this folklore story to try to keep the kids in. And whereas that could be part of this, the hanging of the lanterns and stuff, that tells me that someone believes something,
Right.
which means something had to be happening.
Yep.
So that part totally in for, but we talked about that land stuff to a degree, because if it's Native
Right.
American land anyway,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there was some sort of ritual that was done there that I think that opens a portal. I'm not for sure. I've
Right.
not done a ton of research on the Native American stuff, but I know when you got that, typically you got the other stuff too.
There's a legend that used to be on TV when I was younger, about natives in Canada and the Great Evil. And this grandfather is telling a story about how the warring tribes got together and sealed away the Great Evil under a tree. And how they worked together to keep that sealed under there. But if like a tribe was driven out of here, maybe that becomes unsealed or something like that, because they were sort of cheated out of their lands.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. The last part of that was like the kids asked the grandfather, "Is the Great Evil still sealed away?" And he's like, "You're here, ain't you?"
But I feel like all folklore has that story in some
Right.
capacity though, because like even when we talk about even like demonic kind of deals, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're almost always sealed away from something, right? Or
Right.
this is going to go in a completely different direction. I apologize. There's even stories where they talk about people that open portals in mirrors. Like mirrors are apparently some form of a portal.
Yeah, heard that before.
And when you open that portal, you have to close it and you have to keep it closed.
Mm-hmm.
But there's things that can open that mirror back up as a portal.
Right.
Actually, I just read something again on subreddit, and it was talking about this guy that didn't believe in a lot of stuff, and through a mirror, he opened up a portal. So
really?
I feel like, again, this goes back to multiple folklores, which, again, to me, that's validity, right? If you're doing it in one culture, to say, well, that doesn't exist in another culture, that doesn't, to me, that doesn't fit. If you got it in one, there's got to be ways of opening and closing it in other cultures too.
Yeah. The other thing I'm thinking is, this is like spirits protective of the land, because what do all these things have in common? What would the lesson be that you get from all these? Stay the frig out of the Pine Barrens.
Oh yeah.
Like all
Big
this
time.
stuff is like, get out of the Pine Barrens. Like these things aren't coming out looking for people. If you go in there, if you try to make a settlement in there, it's going to get spooky. Like stay out of there, stay away from this area, stay away from that area. I think it's just meant to keep out of there. Like don't go in the Pine Barrens. And it's a huge area. I looked on a map. And it's just a giant area.
But what if, Nick? What if that's why they put a lot of those things, like a lot of stories here in the States, there's a lot of stories that'll come out from national parks.
Right. I've watched documentaries on these actually.
And what makes it interesting to me is with national parks, the public can go into them, but there's a lot of
Mhm.
rules and regulations.
Right.
And I've even heard some people say that park rangers tell these horrifying stories of things that happen inside the park.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a story that I brought Nick not too long ago. I'm like, we can't put this on our podcast. It's just
Right.
it's too dark. But that was in a national park.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Have you watched these documentaries, Missing 411?
No, I don't know what that is.
If you have Prime Video or Netflix, I forget which one it is. It's a series of documentaries based off of sort of tales from park rangers about all the crazy stuff that goes on in these national parks.
Is this area, is that like a national park kind of deal?
You know, you've caught me unprepared because I'm not sure, and I'm really wondering about that now. I don't think all of it is.
Here's what I think, Nick. I got a new hypothesis. I'm writing it down. We're going
All
to
right.
hold that till the
Yeah,
end. I
yeah.
a
We got to
hypothesis.
get that on paper.
Got it.
All right. So lay it on me.
Here's my hypothesis, Nick.
All right.
I wrote it down. I circled it. I'm going to scratch out my other circles. Gargoyle, gone. Number 13, gone.
Right.
I believe the government controls national parks.
Right. Well, we
What
know that's a
if-
fact. We know that's a
That's
fact.
fact.
Right.
Here on our podcast, only facts, boys and girls.
Right.
Okay. Area 51. Are you allowed in Area 51?
Absolutely not.
And why is that, Nick?
Because they don't want you to know what's there.
And it's because they got UFOs, baby. National
Right.
parks has all the other things.
Yeah.
That's why they have national parks.
Right. So you can't, in a national park, you can't dig. You can't
Correct.
change the landscape in any way.
Correct.
There's parts of it that you are not permitted in, at least in Canada. National
I
parks.
believe here in the States also.
Yeah. We always have parts of the national park that we just can't enter. And sometimes they change for different reasons.
It's because them cryptids are moving.
Yeah.
We figure this
Man,
out.
I
Listen,
like
every episode.
Yeah, I like where you're going on this, but I
Every episode, Nick.
highly recommend you watch Missing 411.
I'm going to write that down too. Because
Yeah.
some of you, when you go look at my notes, you're going to forget what the name is. Don't worry. I got you covered.
I hope you draw pictures like I do.
Oh, I got pictures, Nick.
Oh yeah, that's where it's at. But I like where you've gone with this.
Because I think that makes the most logical sense, right? The government's not going to say, hey, we got this thing.
Right.
They're just going to say, we're going to take this land and you're
Yeah.
allowed in it up to this part, but
Yep.
don't go venturing over here.
Right. Because there's rare flowers.
Rare flowers.
You know, it's
Whatever.
dangerous.
Lame.
Or
You know
something
what?
like that.
I bet in the national parks, we would find Mothman, Bigfoot. We would find this Jersey Devil dude. They're probably all sipping tea on special occasions and stuff. Like, hey,
Right.
Mothman, you doing anything this week? Nah, I'm going to Harbinger next year. I
Yeah.
bet that's
Take-
what happens in these
Taking
national
a gap
parks.
year. They're taking a gap year.
Exactly. Listen,
Right.
they've seen me for the last couple of years. Let's take like 10 off on vacation. We're going
I
to go
don't
over to
want
this national park.
I don't want to spoil anything from when you do either read The Missing 411 or watch it, but
Mhm.
they plot out unexplained disappearances on a
Of
map
what?
of people
Disappearances of people?
who disappear and there's never a trace of them found again, and then they plot it out with its vicinity to national parks.
Oh, man.
And could be coincidence, but is an interesting correlation. So I'm really glad you took us this direction.
There's something with that, Nick. There has to
Yeah.
be something with that. Like, why else would they do that? I've never bought into the whole, we got these rare things going on in this national park and we want to keep this.
Right.
That never made sense to me.
Well, a lot of our national parks are just, woodlands like any other.
Yeah, for sure.
But there's
Same
just,
here.
but they have specific borders, and they're not straight borders. They look like they're planned around something. Could be the layout of the land. Like, I'm still the skeptic guy. But what's the reason? Why here and not here?
Cryptids.
It's cryptids.
100%. I already circled it.
Yeah, we're
I don't know
not
what else
ready.
you got to play here, Nick. I've already listen. Case closed. Okay, case closed.
I think you solved it already. And in fact, see, this is why I
Solved.
love these discussions, because I never would have went this direction, and I'm so glad we did.
See, that's the thing. That's the beauty of this, is because we have such different mindsets.
Right.
It creates for me, it's all encompassing because it allows you to get your idea out, allows me to get my idea out, which in return, and this is why I keep telling you guys, when you listen to these episodes, if you got a great idea, leave it in the comments.
Right.
Because maybe you got something that Nick and I don't even have.
Yeah, you're all part of the conversation. We need you here. We're solving this stuff.
This isn't a double co-host show. This is a community where this is what we talk about, is this stuff. Like, what do you think happened? Do you think this is Butkus? You know, what for you, what's the most strong evidence you have? And sometimes, even, believe it or not, when we do research, we miss stuff. Is there something you know about that we don't, that might add or take away from the story?
Yeah, like I totally should have researched if this was a national park, but I didn't even think about that.
But that's the thing. When we're doing this stuff, it's typically around the story. That's like, the infield poltergeist story. Because of the way we structure our podcast, I didn't know 3/4 of it until I did mine, which is different than what we do. And when I opened that, I'm like, this is like a completely different story now.
Yeah. It takes a lot, and your input could help us. Like, I mean, we're 100%. Solving it anyway, but you
it's already solved, baby. National parks, where all the cryptids are. Solved. Stamp it. Pow.
That's right. So there's not too much more to this. A lot of, honestly, I think you've solved it as far as it's going to get solved. But let's listen to the next part, because there's something coming up that you're going to love.
As with any enduring mystery, countless theories have emerged in an attempt to explain the existence of the Jersey Devil. Some suggest it could be a prehistoric creature, a surviving pterosaur that has somehow eluded scientific discovery. Others propose that it is a cryptid, a species yet to be classified by modern science. Skeptics argue that many sightings can be attributed to misidentified animals such as owls or malformed deer. Hoaxes are also a very popular explanation despite the quantity of encounters, while paranormal enthusiasts speculate that it may be a supernatural entity, a harbinger of doom.
Let me tell you, Nick, if I hear freaking owl one more time,
when I heard that
episode.
Yep. When I heard that, I'm like, that's going in. That's going in.
I can't. Almost lost my stuff right there, Nick.
I saw you.
Almost threw my monitors off the table. How let me tell you, an owl is one bad animal, because, there's some owls out there going, we're accused of everything. Okay.
Yeah.
We're this harbinger of death. We're now a demon goat.
We're aliens.
I mean, aliens. I mean, I have never seen an owl in my life that I would ever confuse with any of the things that we've ever talked about.
Right.
Never once.
How disconnected from reality and nature are you that you see an owl and you're just like, this is not natural. This is beyond
correct. Belief. Not only that, but think about it, Nick. And I don't know how much research you've done on owls.
Not a lot, to be honest.
Owls are probably one of the most amazing hunters there are. Do you know why that is?
Because they're aliens.
Because, well, that is very valid. Based on what we're learning,
Right.
By golly. They're shape-shifting, demon-faced donkey, kangaroo animals that have demons attached in UFO bodies.
Yep.
But the reason they're so good at hunting is because they're almost silent.
Right.
When they fly, they're almost completely silent. So most predators or most
Prey.
Most
Right.
prey doesn't know they're coming.
Yeah.
They don't, by the time they figured out, and the owl is so fast. So first and foremost, if I hear something, it's not going to be an owl, which would get my
Right.
attention to even look in that direction. That just makes no sense. It ticks me off so bad because it's every week anymore.
I know. Isn't that wild that this keeps coming up?
It's like it's the same skeptic going on every case going, I'm going to solve this one. Let me see. Owl. It's an owl.
I've got my own
Like,
theory
come
about this.
on.
There was a
I would love
skeptic.
to hear that theory.
There was one skeptic who they always interview for all these shows. This is my theory. There's one skeptic they always interview for all these shows. And when he was young, he was climbing a tree and he saw a baby owl and it scared him so bad that he can't imagine a more terrifying thing than an owl. And anytime something scares him, he's like, that's a GD owl right there. It's an owl.
The thing that I don't think I've ever been more mad about a stupid answer as I have this freaking owl.
Right.
Like I've been mad at really dumb things. Like sometimes people will say something and I am unfortunately one of those people that my face will almost give any thought process that I have away.
Right.
It would be so obvious if I went anywhere investigating, I don't care what it is. It could be the dumbest thing in the world where I walk out of the house and I go, this is clearly not a thing. Or if I come out of a forest and I go, this isn't a thing. And another skeptic's there and he goes, yeah, you know what I think it is?
Oh,
And I said,
boy.
what? And they said, I think it's an owl. I would legit just stare at them and go, I changed my answer. This is clearly a thing now. I
Yeah.
endorse this. I endorse this because you just gave the dumbest possible answer. Like throw
Right.
them people out. Throw them out. I just, whoo, baby. That
Can you
ticks me off
imagine
so
this?
bad.
We go on our first in-person ghost hunt. We get into the haunted house. We discover there's a book that we pull on the shelf and it opens a secret passageway. We go down
this
the
already.
winding stairs. Supernatural things are happening all around us. And we get to the bottom. Like we see ghost. We hear ghost. Full body apparitions. We
Oh,
get to the basement. And there's some kind of creature behind a curtain. Slowly we grab the curtain, pull it back, and it's an owl pulling strings and honking horns and just behind the whole thing the whole time.
if that happens, ladies and gentlemen, I'm quitting this podcast. I'm just putting that out here. Because listen, I don't want to deal with whatever you guys are going to say. I'm just not
Yeah.
even going to deal with it. Just one day
Yeah.
you're going to see the podcast going to be gone. If this podcast is no longer in existence and I'm still alive, we found an owl did all this.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
I have to eat all my words and I'm not going to do that.
that's right. It would be too much. We couldn't handle that. We'd have to go back
Couldn't
to
handle it.
civilian life.
That ticks me off so bad.
It's all owls, man.
So
Hashtag
stupid.
it's all owls.
Such a dumb answer.
It really is. It really is. And it has no place here whatsoever. Owls do not have
No.
horse-like faces. They don't have
No.
leathery wings.
Goodness, no.
They don't get birthed by witches.
Not that I know of.
I've never seen it, but I can
thought that
guess
was
that's why not.
bats.
Birthed by witches?
There's always bats around witches. That's the only thing I can assume.
But anyway, I'm going to go on the record and say I don't I believe this is many things, but it is not an owl.
It is, yeah.
I'm going to go with Bert's answer.
100% not an owl.
Not an owl.
Not an owl.
And we're going to prove to the world that owls aren't behind these things.
Let me tell you, I'm going to put a campaign together to get owls as a more loved animal by the end of this podcast. I'm going to listen. I've never came out with merch in my life. We're going to have our first merch be a t-shirt that's going to be just a big old owl that's going to say, I didn't do it.
Right. That's right. I'd wear that, by the way.
I would. 100% I would.
Yeah. I love owls.
So now, since you've completely ticked me off, Nick, is there more segments?
There's only one little bit, and it's just the end. It's like an outro.
Is it going to bring me back from a non-ticked off state?
No, I don't know. If we didn't even play this last part, it wouldn't matter.
It always matters, Nick. Every part matters, Nick.
Let's just roll it anyway.
Let's go.
And so, the legend of the Jersey Devil endures, a testament to the power of folklore and the human imagination. Whether born of a mother's curse or a creature from the darkest corners of our world, the Jersey Devil continues to lurk in the shadows of the Pine Barrens, a symbol of the unknown and a reminder that even in our modern age, mysteries that defy explanation still persist. As you venture into the night, remember to keep your lanterns lit and your wits about you, for you never know when the blood-curdling scream of the Jersey Devil might pierce the silence and send shivers down your spine.
Not gonna lie, the lantern part kind of made me smile, Nick. I kind of like that part a little bit.
Yeah, it's a good ending. It should have been part of the last part, but I had to give you room for the owl talk.
That owl thing just ticked. I'm glad you did that at the end. If that was at the beginning, it would have ruined my entire experience.
Oh, yeah. I can't say that they won't be back, but I'm hoping my next story doesn't have owls.
I can almost guarantee, based on our current success level, there's probably going to be an owl in there somewhere, Nick.
I'm going to design an owl shirt for you. And we'll put it on Facebook and Instagram later.
That sounds great. That's what we need.
That's my homework.
Merch, Nick. We need merch out there with an owl on it. That's what we
right.
need.
I'm going to do it. Mark my words.
We could call ourselves the Hooligans. Instead of
Man, I love dad jokes. I love dad jokes. Gets me every time.
Oh, man. Well, hopefully y'all enjoyed this story. This is a different one. I'm literally shocked. All the different television shows and I've never, my guess is, again, someone told me at the beginning of an episode what it is, and I go, nope, not listening to it.
One weird thing happened, though. I came into this more of a believer than when I started it.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's thanks to your theories and your perspective on things and the realization that if we just cut off the mother leads part, it's a legit story.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Again, I think it goes back to it's some form of, I'm going to go with something demonic, right? Because like even when we talk about Skinwalker Ranch, that's supposedly demons. And I think there's something to that, whether they're shapeshifters or whatever it is. It's got to be some form of an intelligent being. Now, why it's here, who knows, right? Like, we don't know that part, but I definitely think there's some validity. You cut off the front part of that, I think there's too much there to say that there's not something that's there. Great. Now we're going to have another deep dive. It's going to be like, Bert believes another one. Shocker. Golly.
One of these I set you up for this. I set you up for this.
One of these I'm never going to believe, Nick. I have to have one that I just absolutely don't believe at the end.
This should have been the one. So I don't know.
I'm going to get...
I think you missed your bus.
I'm going to get a reputation. God. But the biggest thing is, obviously, we're going to put the photos over on the Instagram. For those of you without Instagram, we listened. It's also going to be on our Facebook page. We also have a Facebook group. So depending on what you're more comfortable with, whatever's on the Facebook page is also on the Facebook group. I don't know that I'm going to specialize one over another one. I think for me, they're about the same.
Yeah.
And obviously, we want you guys to continue the story also. We want you to tell us your thoughts and hypothesis on this also. Like, what do you think of the Jersey Devil? Is it legit? Is it fake? That's what I want to know. I want to know what the community thinks. If we would have cut off the front, would it be more believable?
Right. Do we have alternate theories? How do you feel about the national parks thing?
Yeah, because that's one thing that makes me again stop and go, there's something there.
Mhm.
Because like even the story that I told Nick, it was too gruesome for what we do.
Yeah.
That was a national park, man.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stories around national parks. A
Yeah.
lot.
It's the great unknown, untouched wilderness.
And usually when people die at national parks, they fell from something every
Right.
single time.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder if some of that's just a cover.
It's the owl of the national parks.
It's the freaking owls, them gosh
Yeah.
dang owls,
Yep.
man.
But anyway, you tell us what you think. Interact. Help us solve this stuff.
And obviously, for anyone that doesn't know, Nick brought this up earlier. Check out our webpage, www.deceptiverealitypodcast.com.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to find all of our links, all the good stuff. Nick is actually the main man when it comes to the website stuff. So
Yeah.
I know he's taking good care of you guys with that.
That's right. I'll send you where you need to be.
There you go. But this was a thrilling episode. Nick loved it. If you would have just told me the beginning, I'd have been like, nope, I'm not watching this episode either, but I'm a part of it, Nick. And you brought me around. Listen, if there's an episode about the Jersey Devil now, I might check it out. You
Yeah.
never know.
I think you'll search them out now.
I might,
Never
because
know.
now I'm curious.
Yeah. And I hope you all are at home.
Absolutely. Well, y'all are doggone rock stars. We definitely appreciate all the interactions you've gave. Oh, Nick, I forgot to tell you. Or no, I think I did tell you, but I didn't tell anyone else. Someone was on our YouTube page again last week.
Right.
I thought this story was actually kind of funny. They left a comment, and occasionally we will read these, just FYI. So if you don't want them on here, sorry. I thought it was funny, though, because someone watched our Circleville Letters
Right.
episodes, our two-parter. They watched episode 1, episode 2, and they thought I said in episode 3, they thought we meant there's 3 episodes of the Circleville Letters, and they're like, where's part 3? I freaked out because I'm like, did I miss something? Is something else
Right.
going on? Is there something new? I started doing a quick research of the Circleville Letters,
Mhm.
and then they responded back and they go, oh, I thought I heard you talk about part 3. It was really this episode that you meant. Sorry, I stand corrected. But that said,
Yeah.
Nick, we might have a little tidbit for the Circleville Letters that's new,
Oh,
coming
wow.
soon. Spoiler
Oh, my
alert.
goodness. Now I got to be waiting
'Cause-
for this.
Because of his comment, it made me
Right.
look real quick because I'm like, what did I miss? And I'm like, oh, wait, I didn't know about this.
Ah,
So
maybe we got to
kind
do
of
an update
interesting.
show.
might have to do an update show.
Awesome.
Well, thanks everyone for stopping by. Y'all been, like I said, rock stars. Until we see y'all in the next video, or we're going to do a live event. I kind of got that planned out, but I got to get with Nick. We'll get that all
Yeah.
flipped at. And wherever you're listening to us at, make sure that you like and subscribe. Don't forget the subscribe part. But until the next one, goodbye.
Bye-bye.